trying to equip. Yes, sorry, reminder this training will be recorded. So if anyone from the region needs to rewatch it or you'd like to send it to your volunteers that'll be at the training, you can send this volunteer recording. It'll be updated onto the hub. Sorry, back to the purpose of this training. So we want to equip registration volunteers with the resources and knowledge to really set up and run the registration area on event day. We want everyone who's attending to have a positive and welcoming experience. We want to ensure that we can have proper accounting and handling of all the offline money that we receive. Reviewing the documents and resources that we provide in the package, and all the different documents that we will talk about, they're all actually on the volunteer hub. So if you'd like to review them before a Gutsy Walk, which is recommended, they'll be there on the hub. And providing participants with their eligible fundraising awards and any additional items such as the tattoos. And ensure that the Gutsy Walk team receives all the necessary information that we need, such as the pledge forms, the tally sheets, to really reconcile all that event day funds. So participant versus donor. So two terms sound very similar, but they're quite different. A participant is someone who has registered for Gutsy Walk and fundraises money for the event. They are eligible for the fundraising awards and contests and can be registered as an individual, a team captain, or be a part of a team as a team member. Versus you have the donor is someone who supports Gutsy Walk and donates to either a participant, a walk location, or makes a general donation towards the event. But donors are not eligible for fundraising awards or contests. How we receive funds. So prior to Walk Day, donations can be made through the website online, through credit card and PayPal. And we also receive checks, donations mailed into the Toronto office. This is where our finance team will notify us and we can allocate the funds towards the appropriate participant and ensure we keep track of all those offline money coming in. We also get cash and check deposited by your regional staff partner. And then lastly, we receive matching gifts. On event day, participants will come and submit their cash and check donations at the registration area. This is what we refer to as offline donations. Participants can also make online donations through the website, on Walk Day via credit card and PayPal again.
All right, so now it's my turn to talk. So you're going to hear a bit of back and forth between both Amara and I, so you don't get tired of hearing one of us speak. The registration packages. There are a number of packages that are coming to the registration captains, which might or might not be those of you on the call this year. So first of all, the first package that probably already should have came already is the RBC Imperiolator items that was mailed out by the lovely Amara the first week of May. If you have not received that yet, give us a heads up because we can make sure that you should receive it. We have tracking numbers for those. We're also having the fundraising incentives. So like Amara was talking about, the team captain and star fundraising incentives, those are going to be coming to you ideally next week if the timing works out, but next week or the beginning of the week after. Registration documents that will also be mailed out shortly. This includes the things like the participant verification envelopes and those kind of important documents, as well as helpful guides for volunteers on Walk Day. We also have the t-shirts and tattoos. So these are t-shirts for anyone who doesn't get their t-shirt mailed in advance. And those are coming kind of in that bulk shipment with the tattoos. And then this year we also have Simply Protein as a sponsor, and we are, or they have very graciously agreed to supply protein bars for all of the in-person walk locations. So those will also come. So we ask that when you do receive these items, just take a look over them, just so that if you're the one receiving them, make sure that all of the things are there. And if you're missing something, feel free to flag that with your staff partner or reaching out to the Gutsy Walk team as well. So the registration shipments will include, this is kind of a mix of everything. So like I mentioned, the RBC deposit bags and slips in order to deposit the event day money, Purolator bags and waybills, which is to mail the participant and donor information back to the Gutsy Walk team after the event is concluded, the participant offline donation verification form envelope, things that you put any offline money in, checks and cash. Important reminders and fundraising and incentives guides, registration captain and registration volunteer instructions. So a breakdown of both of those processes. The event day tally form where you mark everything at the end of the day, the incentive not received form. So if you run out of incentives and we need to send one from our office, we can do that. A crisis contact guide, that's very important. So make sure you familiarize yourself with that just in case anything happens. Hopefully it doesn't, but it's better to be prepared than unprepared. Extra pledge forms in case anybody comes up the day of and isn't registered and needs to fill out a pledge form and they have money. Photo consent forms, as well as accident and incident forms. We also have QR code sheets, which has a check-in form, as well as a general link or a general QR code to the Gutsy Walk website if people want to make a donation the day of. Those t-shirts, the star rewards, which is we'll get into a little bit more later, but that's has taken over the Top Pledge Earners Club that you all likely previously knew about. Also the team captain reward, which also I'm going to let you know that we're going to tell you what these things are a little later in the training. So just a little spoiler there, but I'm not going to spoil it right now. It can also include volunteer lanyards, name tags, and name tag holders, tattoos, go here postcards for some sites, and then the Simply Protein bars. And I think I noticed a message in the chat that was asking about the Simply Protein bars. So, but I think Rachel got that already. So great. Additional items that are required for registration that we kind of recommend that you have, and these are arranged by the registration captain or whoever's helping kind of run that registration area. So we recommend kind of the required supplies are pens, highlighters, calculators, scrap paper, and or post-it notes in case you need to write something down really quick. 5 to 10 medium size banker boxes or bins, depending on the size of your event. Hand sanitizer, paper clips, scissors, masks. And then some suggested supplies that we have here are gloves and that are recommended for volunteers handling money. Coin rollers, elastics, tape and or glue sticks, whiteout, staplers, staples, and tablecloths to decorate your space and spruce it up a little bit.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about setting up your registration area. So you want to have things like tables and chairs and having your signage laid out. This will include your registration and welcome signage to clearly distinguish which areas are which. And if applicable, you might have a separate star fundraiser line. This is a line that is for your fundraisers who have raised $1,000 or more. This is kind of a special way to highlight them and keep the flow of the people coming quick. And you could have separate lines for offline donations. So if someone is handing in cash or checks, you might want to have a separate line for them versus people who are only coming to pick up their rewards and just check in. We also recommend having all your registration materials clearly laid out in your pairs. So this includes the stationery items such as the pens, the registration documents that we shared with the envelopes, and working in pairs. So we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the role of the volunteer registration pairs. Fundraising awards placed on a separate and secure table. So you kind of want those away in a secure spot, but also easy for your volunteers to access as they'll be going back and forth to hand out to participants. And I also suggest, obviously based on your walk size and the layout of your event, you might want to have a couple runner volunteers, suggested 1 or 2, to be going back and forth and picking up any required materials that your volunteer pairs might need or have run out of. And as well, we'll have those banker boxes laid out throughout the volunteer pairs, and that's where you'll be placing those offline pledges. This is a little photo that kind of lays out what I just went over. So you see that you have the envelopes, you have stationery, you have some hand sanitizer, you see water, so your volunteers are staying hydrated, very important. You see people putting up some signage and your incentives in the back. This is kind of what a suggested layout would look like.
All right, so registration volunteer roles. We're going to go deeper into this, but this is kind of a high level of what the registration captains and then the volunteer pairs are going to be doing on the event day. So as the registration captain, the role is to lead the Gutsy Walk registration tasks and manage the intake of event day funds. So and oversee the collection of money and make sure that if there's any discrepancies or any issues, they're there to answer any questions. Determine registration needs Provide relevant information and train event day registration volunteers. So that's also being responsible for ensuring that registration volunteers arrive a minimum of 30 minutes prior to the area or the registration area opening to complete a run through of the process and address any questions and make sure that they're all feeling comfortable. That being said, in some locations, it might be a little bit earlier of an arrival time. It just kind of depends on the location size. And it's also recommended to train volunteers prior to the event and encourage them to review the registration training and documents. So if you have registration volunteers, we are recording this session and all of the sessions will be posted on our volunteer hub. So you can always send someone to view those in advance so they become more familiar with the process. The last thing kind of that the registration captain is responsible for is overseeing the final count of monies and deposit of event day donations. And moving on to the registration volunteer pairs, the big thing for them is to welcome and greet participants and say thank you because you're the face of Gutsy Walk, and as well as check participant information, make sure that everything's correct, provide the eligible participants with their fundraising rewards, so making sure that the star fundraisers receive their fundraising incentives as well as the team captains, and maybe somebody needs to pick up a t-shirt, so making sure that everything's done there. Receive and count cash and check donations from participants. They are supported by the registration captain. So like I said, if anybody has questions during that process at the event day, they can always flag down the registration captain because they should be the best expert there for the situation. And so depending on your walk size, you might want to allocate 1 or 2 registration volunteers to be floaters or greeters that are kind of floating back and forth with any requests of materials from the volunteer pairs to ensure that efficiency is being met at the registration tables and avoid a backup of lined up people. So it might be a situation where, you see one line that's getting really long, you could throw a couple volunteers that are floating to help disperse the line and make 3 smaller lines. But just to make it a good experience for everybody coming in and visiting the registration area on event day.
So this is a reveal of our t-shirt. You likely probably would have already seen a picture of it. This is for participants who have raised a minimum of $150. You will notice that that amount, the minimum fundraising to receive a shirt, has gone up by $50. It was previously $100. This is just for an extra push and excitement. So just keep this in mind when you are handing out the shirts. So I'm sure if you've been here for a while, you've likely got used to the $100. We'll clearly lay that out in the list for you. So if you forget, we'll have it in the column on the participant list. T-shirts will be mailed out to participants if they raise $150 online by May 20th. So that last shipment will go out on May 21st for these folks. And also introduce the Stars Galaxy, so formerly called the Top Pledge Earners Club, which was for participants who raised that minimum of $1,000. This is now be rebranded to the Stars Galaxy. So anyone who raises over $1,000 is considered a star fundraiser. And there are 3 different levels to the star fundraisers. So you have the rising star levels. Those are fundraisers who raise in between $1,000 to $2,499. You have that mid-level shooting stars that raise $2,500 to $9,999. And then you have our awesome superstars who raise over $10,000. And this year, I'm gonna touch that. The star rewards are eligible for, again, those people who raise over $1,000. However, they're only eligible for 1 star reward. So based on the level that you land, that is the reward that you would get. They don't accumulate. So this is the reveal of the Rising Star Reward this year. It's a constellation nightlight to keep in theme with the star field. And participants will pick up this reward on event day. We will be shipping those out in those packages to you. And again, only 1 star reward per participant. And this is our shooting star reward. It is a belt bag. And participants, again, will pick this up on event day and only 1 per participant. And this is our top fundraising award, which is the Daybreak Digital Alarm Clock. And participants will again pick this up on event day. And I will want to flag, you might get some participants saying that they like another star reward better. Maybe perhaps they raised that $10,000, but they like the shooting star reward. we are allowed, we would encourage you to opt for the other one. So if they want to pick a different reward, that's totally fine as long as they're receiving one and it's to a lower down level. So if they're at a rising star, they would only be eligible for that level. However, if at the superstar reward and they wanted to pick the rising or the shooting star reward, that is totally all right, and we can all make that accommodation for them. This is the team captain reward. Unfortunately, we couldn't get a colon, so the closest thing we got was a stomach, and they're very nice. I've seen them in person. And eligible team captains to receive this must be comprised of a team with 2 or more actively fundraising team members, including the team captain, and raise a minimum of $200 as a team. Team members, as a reminder, are not eligible for the team captain award. This would only be the team captain.
All right, so I'm going to jump into the registration process for volunteer pairs. So the first step is greeting and directing participants. So greeting them and thanking them for supporting Gutsy Walk, welcoming them, and as well as ensuring that they are joining the correct line if there is more than one. There might be a line that is just for submitting offline money with cash and checks. There might be a star fundraiser only line that it's kind of like a VIP skip the line experience. So there's a number of different ways, and that'll depend on the size of your walk. But that first step is greeting them and making sure that they feel welcome. Step number 2 is checking in. So there is an online check-in form. And this online check-in form that you might be familiar with this for the past couple of years because we had something similar. It was the kind of a COVID-19 form, but we revamped it so that it's not the focus on COVID-19, but the focus is on tracking participant numbers and ensuring that we have kind of a good idea of how many people are showing up at each event. So this online form is not equivalent to registering for Gutsy Walk online. And everyone who attends an in-person walk is encouraged to fill out the check-in form, whether they're registered or not. The nice thing is that if you're coming with 4 of your family members, you can fill it out and be the only one that fills it out for your family, and then just check in for your household, and you'll select how many people are with you. And like I mentioned, this allows for an accurate event attendance count. And if they haven't already, it's important to direct participants to check in using this form provided on the website from the QR code sign that we will be providing in those registration packages. We also will have small printouts available in the registration document package, and that'll be available, I believe, on the Volunteer Hub, so that if you want extras, that's there as well. We do highly encourage that participants should be still visiting the registration area, even if they have checked in online and even if they don't have any offline money, because this is where they're going to receive their fundraising rewards. And if they do have offline money, hand that in. So we're mailing out the t-shirts, but the other fundraising rewards, they will only get those at the registration tent on the event day. So we encourage everybody to visit registration. So we're still on step 2, kind of a different branch of checking in each participant. So each registration volunteer will receive an online participant report that's provided by the Gutsy Walk team with a list of registered participants for your walk location. If you've been around for at least one Gutsy Walk and involved with registration, this probably looks a little bit familiar to you. So as participants line up and approach the registration table, you can ask them their name and find them on the participant list provided. If they're not on this participant list and maybe registered after the online report was pulled, because we know that people are continuously fundraising right up until event day, and they're also registering right up until event day, so they might not be on that form. So if they are not, add their name and their full name and their email to the back of the list, and make sure that you mark anything down. If they are also not registered yet, please have them fill out a pledge form and then add their name to the back of the list to make sure that we've covered all of the boxes. And as you can see on the participant report list, you can see some of the columns that it kind of indicates whether or not they're eligible for a rising star gift, but shooting star gift and a superstar gift, as well as the t-shirt, and if they were mailed the t-shirt. So step 3 for offline donations and pledge forms. So if the participant is submitting any cash or checks, they must also submit a pledge form associated with it. You want to ensure that the participant fills out the participant information and the donor information on the pledge form, and that all writing is legible. Any missing donor information on the participant on the pledge form, we need to make sure that as much as possible that is filled out, because we do require donor information listed on the pledge form to ensure that tax receipts are issued. As a matter of fact, we do need full addresses. If we don't have a full address, we are unable to issue tax receipts. So if you notice that it's missing information, make sure that you mention that to the participant and see if they can grab the information as well. Participants must sign the waiver at the bottom of the pledge form if they have not registered online, and you can you don't have to fill out all the in-betweens if they have registered online. If they have, you just need to fill out that kind of top information. So it says if you have registered online, only first name, last name, and email needs to be filled out. So much easier if you've already done that. And new this year, we no longer accept written down credit card numbers on pledge forms. So if somebody is wanting to pay their pledges, if they don't have cash on them, they can have them write a check. And if they don't have that, then you can discuss with them the other options that they can do to pay them offline or online offline after the event. Okay, so we're still on offline donations and pledge forms. So you're going to count up all of the offline monies to ensure that the total matches up with the information provided on the pledge form. You're going to put the participant offline donations and the pledge form into the participant offline donation verification envelope form. That is a mouthful, but it is, everybody remembers what it is. So you're going to make sure that you write all of their information on this envelope. So where it says participant name, walk location, you can write their team name if it's applicable. If you have a couple different donations of different denominations, you would just write in how many bills you have, and then put a total at the bottom. If you have check totals, you would just put the amount that you have in checks and then the number of checks received. So if you have 2 or 3 checks, or let's say you have 3, you would write 3 checks. You will need to continue to make sure that that's all filled out. And then both the participant and the volunteer must initial on the envelope. So where you see the participant initials, volunteer initials. So you just kind of walk them through what you're doing and then make sure that each person initials. One very important thing is that we ask that you do not seal the envelopes. These envelopes are going to be re-verified when the registration captain is kind of doing their duties for the day. So please do not seal the envelope. And then you're going to place the volunteer, or not place the volunteer, that might be a little weird. Place the envelope in the banker box or the bin beside you, or wherever it is that you're supposed to be putting the envelopes. And this is where all of the offline money and pledge forms in the verification envelopes will be stored, and then somebody will come around and collect those. New this year, we have a follow-up form. So if you have any questions, discrepancies, anything at all that requires a follow-up communication from the Gutsy Walk team, we ask that you fill out this form. There's a screenshot here, so it is very, very general. And the reason for that is because there might be a number of reasons why you need to fill out the follow-up form. Maybe somebody wants information about something that you don't have information for, or it's an issue with offline money or anything like that. Fill out this follow-up form, make sure you get their full name and phone number and their email and the reason for following up. If it's a situation where they are needing to be mailed something, make sure that you get their address. And that way the Gutsy Walk team can follow up after the event has concluded and we're able to follow up with everybody. Okay, again, so do not seal the participant offline donation verification envelope. The contents will be later reviewed by the registration captain. And you're going to place the envelope in your volunteer pairs box or on the floor beside you. And if you are a visual learner, this is just kind of a little visual here. So the money with the pledge form into the envelope and then into the box. And this should be stored in a secure area and never left out of sight. So rewards and incentive not received form. So this is a form that you might be familiar with from the past years. So like I kind of highlighted at the beginning of the registration volunteer pair section on that participant what's it called now? The participant sheet, the participant list. You're going to be able to see if the participant is eligible for a t-shirt and has not yet received it, then you can give them their t-shirt. If it says they were mailed their t-shirt already, they likely already have it. But that being said, if somebody didn't, use your discretion. And if you do give them a t-shirt on event day, please make sure that you fill in a check or a yes or an X or whatever you feel comfortable with under that received shirt on event day column. That way we can track and make sure that the participant got their shirt. If the participant is eligible for any of the star rewards, provide them with the star reward. And like Amara mentioned, they can move down in the star levels, but they can't move up. If the participant is also eligible for the team captain reward, that will be indicated on the list as well. So provide them with the team captain reward. And everybody's going to be happy with a stomach stress ball. So if the participant has raised money since the online participant report had been pulled, which it could be likely that happens, and they are eligible for a fundraising reward, please have the participant show you their online fundraising page total. So if they pull it up and, let's say they only had raised $800 up until the day of, and then suddenly they jump to $1,200, so they qualify for that rising star reward, all you got to do is just double check, and then we'll happily give it to them. And like I mentioned, make sure that you mark that they have received their shirt if they received it on event day. So this year we have a different, a little bit of a different tattoo design. So every participant is entitled to a tattoo. It doesn't matter if they fundraised, or if they haven't fundraised and they're just a guest at the event. Everyone gets a tattoo. This year we will have the Gutsy Champion tattoos like we have in the past that you'll see in the middle. And we also have a special edition 50 Years of Impact tattoo. And these will arrive with the t-shirt shipments. So we're going to talk a little bit about the incentive not received form. So that's this sheet that you'll see a screenshot of. As mentioned, the Gutsy Walk team will provide a limited amount of t-shirts and rewards. So you might not necessarily have enough. We have hopefully anticipated the amount that everybody will need, but if you have a couple people come out of the woodwork and they're raising a bunch of money, you might not have enough of them. So if you run out of a certain reward or a t-shirt size, please fill out the eligible participants' information in the first portion of the incentive not received form. So that's their full name, and as well make sure that you get their complete address, and let them know that the Gutsy Walk team will mail out their rewards post walk. So please do your best to ensure that all the information on the form is legible. So if you really nice handwriting, you can write it down for them, but just mark what we need to send them after the walk, and we will make sure that we send it to them. And the box collection. So registration captains will collect the boxes with the participant offline donation verification envelopes. And it's recommended that the collection is ongoing during registration to get the second round of the process going. Please don't leave any money or envelopes unattended. And once registration has closed and the event is wrapping up, you may place all of the documents into the box so that they're all in one location. And that can include the participant reports, the offline donation verification envelopes, the event day incentive not received form, any follow-up forms, and any additional loose papers with participant notes. And then after that, we ask that you fill out the remaining incentive inventory. So once the event has ended, the registration volunteers will work with the registration captain to confirm any remaining t-shirts and reward quantities. These details must be recorded on the last page of the incentive day, event day incentive not received form. So if you go to the last page, you'll see this little section that tracks your t-shirt and any of the other incentives. We ask that you please do not mail the remaining quantities back to the office location in Toronto. These are going to stay in your local areas, and your local staff partner will connect with you and plan to ensure that items are collected or redistributed to participants that weren't able to attend the event and that were entitled to rewards.
So I'm going to get into the registration captain's role for Gutsy Walk. And the role really starts before actually event day. So step one is the preparation. and ensuring the following: registration volunteers are trained and informed on the duties and the process. So going over this training, reviewing the materials and the documents that are required to run the registration process. Making sure that all of the documents are present. So when you open your packages, it's important to do a check and go through the documents that are there and ensure that everything you need is there. Setting up and laying out the registration area. So that's, you want to arrive early to make sure you have time to set that up on event day in the morning. And securing the area to store and review the participant offline verification envelopes. So basically making sure you have a really secure and safe place to be going through the money and counting it, and also storing it in the meantime if you haven't got to start counting it yet. And you want to really support the registration volunteers if questions arise. So we know that there might be volunteers who arrive and haven't really gone over the registration process, or might be last minute volunteers. So being able to support them and provide them with the information that they need to perform their duties at registration. And another key responsibility is picking up the RBC key, deposit key, prior to walk day, and you're going to use the RBC authorization letter. This document was included in the registration packages and as well has been on the volunteer hub. And you would use that to pick up the key prior to event day, because that is the key that you'll need to deposit the funds. So step 2, we left off at the box collection. So this is where registration captains will then come around and collect the boxes and kind of consolidate this information, taking all the pledge forms out of the boxes, and that's what they're going to be counting. So you want to make sure that you have everything in there. There's no loose papers on the table and everything's in the box. The reports will include participant reports, the event day incentive not received forms, the accident and incident forms filled out by your local staff partner or the registration captain, any follow-up forms or any loose papers with participant or event information. These key pieces that I just mentioned, they will be, it'll be very important to keep those in those boxes as well. So as much as you want to count the money and you have the information, these other documents will be then sent back to the Gutsy Walk team, which I'll explain in a later step in this process. So step 3 is verifying the money and event day tally. So all the participant verification envelopes in the boxes now will be opened. And as we mentioned, those envelopes were not sealed. And this is why registration captains will then take out the cash-in checks and the pledge forms. This is where you're going to be wanting to check a couple things. You're going to want to check the participant verification envelope information that was filled out on the front with all the information on the pledge form, and count all the money that is that was in the envelope as well. So you want to remove all that cash and put that aside, securely put that aside, and note any discrepancies on the follow-up form. So for example, if we missed that there was a donor address that's missing, that's something that should go on the follow-up form. It'll be really easy for us to get in touch quicker because we can just look at that form even before opening all the envelopes. Once the amounts have been verified, so everything adds up, you have all the information, you're going to want to tick off that it's been verified by yourself. So you'll see where it's highlighted over the screenshot, verified by the registration captain. That's where you want to initial that. And as you are counting this money, you are then going to line by line add the participant and the total money they submitted onto the event day tally form, which I will get into and show you what that looks like. So this is what the event day tally form looks like. This is for cash and checks submitted. It looks a little different to prior years if you are familiar with this document. There's a couple different areas here that we're going to fill out, and I will explain each of them. So you have the participant name. So on each name that goes on the envelope, there should be a same amount of participant names of envelopes versus the amount of lines that you're filling on this form. You're going to fill in the cash total and the check total and add that up to get the offline total. Once you've completed and gone through all the envelopes, you're going to want to take a calculator or your phone and add that up. We suggest that you have a witness there to be counting the money with you and verify all those money are adding up to the amount that you've got to. Once you have that total offline, you're going to switch to the event day tally summary on the side over here on the right side of the form. And the first column says offline donation total, cash and check. That's where you want to put that total money that we've just counted. There's a couple other parts to this form. So online donation total. So this is the amount that is already on your location page. So right now, if you go to your location page and you see how much is raised online, whatever that number reads on event day, that's what you want to put there. You'll have your other money received, food, beverage, auctions. So, if you have a little donation table where people are dropping in coins for food, or you have food tickets, or you are doing an auction, this is where you'd want to include that other funds raised. If you have any outstanding total, and this may not be applicable to all of you, if you know you're supposed to receive, a $500 check coming in, you can put that there so you can allocate that towards that total number that you're going to want to excitingly share with people. Once you're done filling out those forms, you're going to add that up to get your total Gutsy Walk raised. That is going to be the amount that you want to share with everyone at your event. So you might want to hand that number to the MC, and that's what they will share was raised. Once you've filled this form out, this form will then go to the Gutsy Walk team and your local staff partner. So previously, this might have only gone to the Gutsy Walk team. This will now go to your local staff partner. And it's suggested that you send this within 3 to 4 hours post-event. If you have any issues or any reasons that you can't get it to us within those 3 to 4 hours, we know things come up. It's a really busy day. That's fine. Just make sure you let us know immediately so we understand that there will be a delay in getting all this form to us. And I see in the comment here some comments about Form A's. This form is going to your local staff partner because they will be completing the Form A's for you. None of you each will be doing that this year. I know it's a complicated process, and I think it just takes a little bit less, a little bit more off each of you, and I think it'll be easier if your local staff partner does it. I think there's another slide that explains it a bit more, but I wanted to touch on that. So you've completed this form. It's all filled out. You have your separate pile with the secure cash and checks received. And you want to mark up, again, all the totals in here. Both the registration captain and the witness need to sign it. So you'll see a completed by and a witness by. You just want to make sure that someone's there to fill the witness out by. And you can email this to the gutsywalk@crohnsandcolitiscanada.ca email address and share that total raised with your MC to announce. As I said, registration captains will not have to complete a Form A this year. One less thing on the steps for you to do, that'll be your local staff partner responsible for that. So step 4, this is where now you put that cash aside. This is what we're going to do with that cash part. We are going to fill out the bank deposit slip. If you haven't seen this before, there are 3 copies in each slip. So I have prepared in my registration packages to each of you. Some of you might have already received them, or whoever is supposed to receive them for your walk location. I usually provide 2 different banks, 2 deposit slips. So, just in case there's some extra funds. You want to record all the cash received, and you'll see here again, you put the denominations and you'll put the total check and add that up. Once you're done filling out the bank deposit slip, there are 3 copies in the one slip. So you want to take the first 2 off. That's going to go in the deposit bag. And that last copy is what you want to keep. That's going to come to us. So make sure you put that 3rd copy aside because it will be useful for us and we'll need that information. So once you've completed this form, you're going to put this into the RBC deposit bag that was sent to you, as well as the cash checks and any coins received. Once you put that money into the bag, you're going to take off the red adhesive slip to seal the bag. Once you've taken off the slip, it's really important that you don't throw out the adhesive slip. You'll see on the front picture here, it's red. However, on the back side, it actually is a white slip. On the white slip, it has the deposit bag number. I actually think it has a little spot where you can fill out the walk location as well. That slip is important to keep and put aside because that'll be something that'll go in the package that each of you send back to the Gutsy Walk team. So the deposit to the bank. So now that you've had that key that you picked up that night before, this is where that key is going to come in handy. So you're going to deposit at your local RBC deposit box using the RBC deposit key picked up prior to walk day. You want to turn the key to open and close the deposit box. And it's we ensure that you are accompanied by someone else during the deposit process. You're carrying a lot of money. You want to make sure that you're secure and you have some support. So it really is suggested that you don't do this alone and you have someone accompany you during this process. You may drop off the key the day after Gutsy Walk because there is no key drop off in the night deposit box. So step 7, the post-walk money. So sometimes you might receive some additional funds after event day, after you've sent that initial RBC deposit bag. We do usually typically include a second RBC deposit slip and bag. So that's what you can use to deposit these funds using that same process. If you don't have another RBC deposit slip or bag and have received additional monies, post-walk, please contact the Gutsy Walk team and we can offer some support with next steps and figure out how to proceed. So step 8, the Pure Later packages. So now you had those 2 packages. You had the deposit with the money and you had the Pure Later. The Pure Later package and the waybill. The purpose of this is to send back the information that our team needs to reconcile the event. So please use this Pure Later bag to send back any participant and donor information. And I've included a little list here of the items that would include. So you have the participant reports used at registration. This is really important because it includes if you've written names at the back, if you have notes about who've received a t-shirt. Things happen fast and there's a lot of notes I find that get put on those pages, and it's really important that we get that information back. We also have the participant offline donation verification envelopes with the pledge forms inside, the event day incentive not received forms. Those are also very important to make sure that we ensure everyone who is eligible for the reward gets the reward. Commonly, someone might enter in their address wrong, so it's good for us to see that form and ensure that we also have correct addresses for folks and ensure that we don't get any return to senders and people actually receive their incentives. Any accident and incident reforms, event day tally forms. Registration captains can also, again, send the digital form at gutsywalk at crohnsandcolitis.ca. However, if you have a physical copy, you can pop that in the bag and send that back to us as well. A copy of the bank deposit slip. So that's that 3rd copy that I said to put aside. This is going to go in this package. And the red adhesive slip that's actually white from the RBC deposit bag. As well, so if you have any unused RBC deposit slips, Pure Later bags, Pure Later waybills, feel free to send those back because we will reuse those for next year. And the address on the waybill already has our address. So all you have to do is fill in the from address, just in case it's returned to sender. So it goes straight to you and you can let us notify us that we need to offer some additional support to get that package back to us. The Pure Later bag should be sent back to the Toronto office within 48 hours post-event. But again, we know things come up. There's lots going on. Please just let us know if there's any reason why we can't get that package back within that time frame. Just let us know and we can work something out. And as well, once you have sent that, please email your Pure Later tracking number to the Gutsy Walk team. I actually write all these tracking numbers down and the deposit slips numbers down so I can match some of the walk sites, but it's just extra confirmation for me to make sure, yes, this is the correct package and it's coming from the correct walk site.
All right, so I'm going to touch a little bit about what the Gutsy Walk team's role is in the post-event reconciliation process. So once we receive those Pure Later packages from the registration captains, we begin the post-event process. So we review the event day totals and information provided on the pledge forms. And then what happens next? We ensure that all of the totals add up. We also add all offline event day donations to the website towards the correct participant fundraising page or location page. We issue the donor tax receipts using the information on the pledge form. So that's why we really need the correct mailing addresses so that we can correctly issue those tax receipts. We calculate fundraising totals to issue any rewards, and then the post-event gift card incentives as well to participants. We also mail out any rewards and t-shirts to participants as indicated on the incentive not received form. We also very excitedly get to announce our final event revenue total. So that's always the big one and the fun one. And we solve any discrepancies with missing data. We work with your staff partners to make sure that everything's, all our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, and we make sure that everything adds up. Once the cash and checks have been deposited at the RBC deposit box, like Amara said, the Gutsy Walk team will match the deposit amounts with our financial reports to ensure that there are accurate totals, as well as with the event day tally form. And last but not least, we wouldn't be able to reconcile event day donations without your support. So from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for being willing to take on these larger tasks that are, being involved with the registration process, because it's not easy. And I'll be honest with you folks, I did it for a couple years as a volunteer, and there's a lot of details. But we truly, truly appreciate all that you do. And especially with this, we really appreciate it.
So I'm going to touch on some important reminders. This one particularly about rewards. So the fundraising deadline for Gutsy 2024 will close on June 30th. And again, one reward per eligible participant for the t-shirt, again for the team captain reward and for the star reward. The Gutsy Walk team will mail out any gift card awards for eligible participants 12 weeks after the event was closed, in case anyone does ask when they come up to the registration table. Any participant who was unable to receive their fundraising award on event day due to supply shortage will be mailed the reward if they fill out the event day incentive not received form. It's really important that they do fill out their address, even if they say they have it online, just in case the address was filled out incorrectly, just to ensure it wasn't a shirt that had been returned to us. Participants might have fundraised additional money since pulling the participant reports used at registration. So just make sure participants show you their fundraising totals on their fundraising page on the website to confirm this, and to ensure that they receive their eligible award. Offline donations. So tax receipts are issued to donations $15 and up. Do not include any online pledges on the pledge form. This will very much confuse our team. And online donations have already been recorded, already documented, so there's no further action with those. Participants must submit a completed pledge form if they're handing in offline donations. Cash and checks should never be left alone or left in a non-secure area. And if your walk site happens to be using a Moneris machine, we'd ask that you do not use the Moneris machine to process any donations. And the purpose of this is that we need to be able to track any kind of donations for donor information. So with the tap of a credit card, we might not get that donor's address, their name, and it is important that we issue those tax receipts. It gets quite tricky to track down people after Moneris donations were processed on the Moneris machine. And we do now have a QR code signage, as well as signs on letterhead to donate online. So you can direct participants there if they ask about paying with credit card somewhere. And some important reminders for your volunteers. Registration captains should predetermine their registration volunteers where possible, so they can review the training presentation, review the documents, attend the training on walk day prior to the event start time. Registration captain should also determine an event day schedule for registration volunteers. So in case you need to stagger some volunteers, determine what your needs are, and communicate to volunteers when they need to arrive on time for event day. So, depending on your walk size, you might need them to get there 30 minutes before the walk. For maybe a larger walk site, you might need them to be there an hour before. I would suggest doing a complete run through with your registration volunteers. I learn by doing. So if I'm practicing and I'm going through the documents and practicing it with someone else, it's really easy to determine what your needs are if you have any questions, and that's when they can come to you and get some support. A reminder to utilize all the instruction guides provided to volunteers. A lot of them have very helpful information. So If they get a little confused about the volunteer role, we have a condensed version of this training in, I think there are 2 or 3 pages each for the volunteer captains and also the volunteer pairs. So they don't need to memorize this information. It's a lot of information. Have it beside them, have it with their pairs, glance at it when, you're confused and there's a long line. You don't need to memorize all this information. It's also a great idea to pair inexperienced volunteers with trained and experienced volunteers. It's a great way to learn. And if anyone feels a little uncomfortable and, it's a lot of information they're learning in a short amount of time, it's an easy way to make sure that they'll work well together. You'll be reimbursed for any event day expenses. So some of those items we talked about, highlighters, pens, calculators, you don't have to pay for those out of your pocket. Those can be expensed. Just be sure to contact your local staff partner and work for those details and ensure they have all the information they need, and you can move forward and get reimbursed for those funds. And a reminder, reminder for your volunteers to welcome and greet guests with excitement and thank them for the support. They're typically the first people that they see when they enter the event. So it's a really great idea to have them welcome with so much excitement and thank them again for being here and make them feel very welcomed.
So that brings us to the end of our training, and we do have a chunk of time. So if you do have any questions, I know it's a lot of information to process, but you can put a question in the chat or you can raise your hand as Chantel has, and we'll call you by name and ask you to unmute and ask your question. Chantel, go ahead.
I just have a few questions. I'm going to go as fast as possible. I think some of them are like just 1-word answers. So for like barbecue money donations, for lack of a better term, tip jar, are we only tracking that on the tally form with the red chart? Like we're not tracking that individually. We're just putting the total on the event tally. Okay, perfect. Question about teams who, let's say there's a team, they have 5 participants, but they're pooling all of their money to the team. Because I've noticed on our fundraising website, we haven't turned off the ability to donate to the team. So people can donate to team or they can donate to the individual. So we've had teams in the past who all of the money went just to the team. So what happens with incentives and t-shirts in that case? Because it's gotten messy in the past.
Yeah, so I believe that we have actually turned off team donations this year. We can go back and double check that though, and double check for Durham to make sure that that is the case and circle
because I've
back
had
with
people
you.
donate to my team and said they wanted it to go to me, but it showed up in the team, and then I've had to get CCC to like transfer the money afterwards. And then it has been an issue, not last year, which was good, but it has been an issue with people who've come to registration and said, but so many people gave us money and none of us are getting a shirt.
We've eliminated that, I think in 2022, just because of that purpose, because I know I'm the one who moves all the donations for you guys. So that's me. So yeah, I can double take a look and make sure that that isn't the case. And if there are, I can certainly move the donations for you. But I don't think on the front end we should be able to donate to teams, but I can follow up with you privately.
Yes, please, if you could, just to make double sure. The slips, the bank slips that I received, so like the 3 copies, both of my versions are separated. Like it's just 6 pieces of paper in my envelope. So which color do you want? I'll just put that one at the bottom.
I believe I'm going off my memory and I'm pretty sure it's the pink slip at the back. So
okay, so white, yellow, pink.
Pardon?
So it's white, yellow, pink.
White, yellow, pink. Yes, pink one are the ones that we want to receive. The front 2 should be white and yellow.
Okay, perfect. So white, yellow in the bag, pink to you. And this could be too late. It probably is too late because I'm sure you all have printed things and ready to go. But just a request for the future, because I've actually had to like remake some of the forms. The spaces are very small. So we're asking either participants or volunteers to write legible, like in a way that people can read. And any form that has an address box, it is far too small to, you know, I'm writing like as tiny as I possibly can. So I have in the past like attached extra paper and made a bigger space. And then when I've gotten home, I've rewritten everything myself. Again, it's probably too late, but just maybe a note, maybe a couple enters in each box. It does require more printing out of more pages because we won't be able to fit as many people on one page, but I just think it will help combat the tight spaces. We've had a lot of participants who are like, this is so small, can I just write it on the back? So if in the future, just a little note. But that's it. I'm glad to see that Form A is being done by someone else. That's a great improvement. It's very exciting. It's my take home of the night. Thank you very much, ladies.
That's great feedback for us. So
And thanks for the feedback about the form. We did try to fix it a little bit and make it simpler this year. And you'll notice there are a few things we're streamlining, but we will keep that in mind for next year as well. And I know that we've answered a couple of questions in the chat, but if you are having more questions, feel free to either pop them in the chat or put your hand up again and ask some questions. And as Dara has put in the chat, just to confirm, Chantel, that people cannot actually donate to teams this year. So we shouldn't be having that issue. As Amara said, we actually have made the decision going forward to not enable that on the front end. And it's only in very particular situations when people contact us with a good enough reason that we allow team donations
Okay.
on the back
That's
end.
great. A lot easier for volunteers. Sorry,
Exactly.
just a question about the QR code for donation. Where does that donation go? Because I'm assuming we're not separating QR codes by walk location. So is
Yep,
it just
so-
going to Gutsy Walk, bottom line?
So your staff partners will actually be doing individual QR codes for each walk site. So we
Okay.
will have them directing straight to your location page. So anyone that uses the QR code at your site will be going directly to your particular site and donating to your site.
Okay, so that's not actually going to go to a team at the Gutsy Walk, for example, or participate. It's just to our region Gutsy Walk.
Correct.
I'm assuming is if they can scan a QR code and use their phone, if they do want it to go to a participant, then I could just help them go to the website, find the participant and do it right there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And the good thing about doing QR codes and going straight to the website rather than trying to make a credit card donation in person is it means that someone will get their tax receipt immediately. They're not sitting around waiting for it. And we can ensure that we have accurate information. So it just makes it easier and faster for everyone. I know that that is a lot to process. So if you don't have questions right now, but you do have them later, feel free to reach out to your staff partner or to contact us at gutsywalk@crohnsandscolitis.ca. And you can also go back and re-watch the recording of this training, as well as we do have one more training if you want to attend live again to go through that once more. We're going to hang around here, but if you have no more questions and you're done for the night, feel free to drop off and we'll wait in case someone has another question that they're a little bit shy to ask in the group setting. And as Dara said, if you don't have access to the hub, please contact your staff partner so we can get you set up.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Nice to see you,
Thanks,
ladies.
Chantel.
You're
You
doing a great
too.
job.
Take care.
You're almost there. Almost there.
You too.